Today we celebrate the exaltation of the Holy Cross. This is the feast of our salvation, the salvation of the world through the suffering and death of Christ. But it's not just about the suffering and death of Christ, it's something more. And I think we need to make sure we're focused on this. Share a little story. About 10 years ago, I remember I was getting very deeply into fasting and self-mortification and other things like that. And one of my friends came to me and says, "Cut it out." She said, "You're not supposed to be doing it like this." And I said, and I'm pondering and saying, but the saints did. I was thinking Paul of the Cross and others. But it then struck me, there was a big difference between the way St. Paul of the Cross and the other great saints did mortification and the way I was doing it. They were doing mortification out of love for Jesus. I was doing mortification out of hatred for myself. And a lot of times when we look at the cross, when we look at the suffering that's endured with that, we can look at just the suffering, we can look at maybe a way of punishing ourselves for our sins or whatever it is. But really, at the heart of the cross is the heart of God. That is love. Jesus went to the cross not because he liked suffering, but because he loves the Father and he loves us. When we look at the cross, what we see is love. And it is exalted not because it is the greatest sign of suffering there is, but rather because it is the greatest sign of love there is. And this is an invitation for us in the sufferings that we have, and in the struggles that we have, and in the crosses that we take up, not just to see them as crosses, not just to see them as suffering, but to turn them into sacrifice, an offering to God, by putting love into it. By offering it to Jesus, whatever those little or large sufferings may be, out of love for Him. And let's be honest, we all have plenty of crosses that we have to carry, not the least of which is this thing that we have to carry over our nose all the time. We all have crosses. Some physical, some that are worse, which are emotional, some which are worse, which are spiritual. But we all have crosses. And we can choose to unite them to Christ in love. And in doing so, one, they finally have purpose, and so it's not just something we have to do because people are telling us we have to do it, or we have to endure because there's nothing else we can do about it. And two, it can become redemptive by then becoming a conduit of the grace that came from the cross into the world, into my situation, your situation, right here, right now. And so as we exalt the Holy Cross today, let us ask Jesus for that grace to see each one of those large crosses and the splinters from the cross that we endure in our lives as opportunities for love, and then to offer them in love to the Father for our own sanctification and for the healing of the world.